and then everything has to happen once you press that button. That's how it works. Okay. La, 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 la. Shalom Aleichem to Aryeh and to Meira and to Katie that's joining us. Of course, my mother who's now traveling somewhere near Vancouver in Canada, and Yael and Avital and David and everybody who watches afterwards. So a note before I forget, next week I won't be giving a class, because my daughter Shuvi, who studies over here in the Jerusalem College of Music, they're giving a concert, which always is a bummer, because she only plays like one piece and you have to sit there for 2 hours and listen to everybody else. And last time she was at the end, but she didn't know, so we sat there for 2 hours. I was like going out of my mind. Yeah, and in the meantime there was always stuff going on with the kids, Baruch Hashem. So anyhow, next Tuesday, 7:30, I'm supposed to be over there, which means at 8 o'clock I won't be over here. And then the next week, B'ezrat Hashem, will continue. And tonight, we're going to finish the lesson we've been working on, which is Pei Bet 82. And it starts off with this quote from the Gemara. הנעלבים ואינם עולבים, שומעים חרפתם ואינם משיבים, עליהם הכתוב אומר, ואוהביו כצאת השמש בגבורה. What instrument does Shuvi play? Yael is asking. Kamanche. She plays the flute really beautifully, but there she's learning the kamanche, which is an Indian instrument. It looks like a big melon with some strings on it. And they're very expensive and sound very strange, but it's the trend in Israel. It's actually very beautiful when you know how to play it. It's very beautiful. So we're starting off with this quote from the Gemara, from Masechet Shabbat. It says, those that are offended but don't take offense, they hear the put down and they don't respond to it. It's written regarding them. My beloved ones are like the sun when it's coming out in its full strength. So that's just the quote that we're starting off with. And the way Rebbe Nachman builds the lessons is he brings a quote, and from that he wants to give over a Hasidic concept. So he begins talking about the klipot. And he says, around Kedusha, we have, I guess I should leave the bookmark here. Around Kedusha, we have 3 klipot. I guess we'll use this. Okay, so let's say in the middle, we have Kedusha. That's Kedusha. On the outside, we have klipat noga. And outside of that, we have 3 klipot kashot. So he says that klipat noga is the dividing klipa between the holiness and the unholiness. And depending on what we do with those things, we can move it from one side to the other. So the examples that I gave were wine that can be used for kiddush, and wine can be used for getting drunk. Also, you can choose to drink kosher wine or non-kosher wine. Zahava shalom aleichem. And money, the same thing. You can use money for tzedakah, for doing mitzvot. You can use money for gambling or for doing other things that you shouldn't be doing. But here he's talking about speech. And he says, when a person says something to you and you choose to not take offense, then you have the opportunity to switch the speech from the side of tuma, from impurity, to kedusha, to holiness. And you do that by basically being quiet. Then he brought this. He talked about the orla, which is we have two types of orla. We have the foreskin and a circumcision, and we have the first 3 years of a fruit when a fruit tree is planted. You have to wait 3 years in order to eat it, and because that's corresponding to the 3 klipot, the 3 outer husks or shells that are covering up the klipa of noga, which is the neutral one, which is covering up the holiness, was the kedusha. So he brought this just to symbolize what's going on here. And then he brought in the idea of chashmal. So chashmal, in modern Hebrew, is electricity, but it comes from the chariot, the vision of Yechezkel, right? Yechezkel's chariot, where he saw, I guess, electric sparks coming off of it or fire coming off of it, and he called it chashmal. You want to add something?
He saw the vision through all of the other ones, the ruach se'ara and the anam kaved.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, go on.
That's the klipot.
Okay, so you saw those things as well. So you saw those are the 3 klipot that are covering things up. But the chashmal, where is the chashmal coming from? I think it must be coming from, I'm just assuming that it must have been like some, fire or something coming out in the vision, and he called it chashmal. I don't know. But here, Rebbe Nachman takes it and he divides up the word into chash and mal. So chash means to be quiet, and mal is connected to mila, which means to remove the foreskin. So he says, when a person basically somebody puts them down or offends them, and they choose to be quiet, but they do it in a positive way, not in a way to upset the other person, but really just like brushing it off, then that's the chash part, that's the quiet part, and then you get the mal part, which is removing the outer layers of the klipa. Because if a person offends you, so it's normal for somebody to respond and say something back, like when we were kids. Your mama. My mama? Your mama. I don't know what they did in Russia. That's what they did in Miami. Okay? And then there were all the things about your mama and my mama and all that stuff. So that's like the regular response. Somebody says something to you, say something back. But here he says, if you're quiet, then you're doing the chash part of the chashmal. And if you're truly quiet in a way of, I'm not going to respond to what that person says, then you merit the mal, which is removing the outer layers of impurity when it can go one way or the other. So that's what we're going to read about right now. עתה יבאר כיצד ההשגות הנ"ל נכללות בגמרא שבה פתח תורה זו. Now he's going to explain how these achievements or these spiritual levels that we can achieve are included in the quote from the Gemara in which he opened the Torah with. V'zeu perush Gemara, and this is the meaning of what it's brought in the Gemara in Masechet Shabbat. Shehuva'ah bereish HaTorah, that was brought in the beginning of this Torah. Hane'elavim ve'inam olvim, those that are offended and don't take offense. Ve'az hu b'chinat chash. So this is the first part of chashmal. This is the letters chash. Ushtika is connected to being quiet. Kedrishat Gemara b'chagiga, as it's explained in the Torah in Chagiga, in Masechet Chagiga. Betevat chashmal, with the letters chashmal. De'itim chashot hainu shotkot. That sometimes it's called chash, which means to be quiet. Shom'im cherpatam ve'inam meshivim. They hear their disgrace and they don't respond. Kanal is mentioned above. Shehem shotkim me lahashiv. They're quiet and they from responding. Lo ak she'olvim behem. It's not just that somebody offends them. Ele gam machrifim otam, but also they disgrace them. They put them down. Shehi yoter me ha elba, which is worse than being offended. Well, it's one thing to say, I don't like Jews. It's another thing to say, Jews are the scum of the earth. So one is you might be offended, the other you're put down. V'osim shtika zo me'ahava. But the person is quiet, but the person is not quiet from a place of, I'm going to get my revenge. The person is quiet from a place of love. Hainu, that is to say, shemechemat ahavat Hashem, because of their great love of Hashem. Mitnaheg b'shvilut v'lo oner lemerchafo. They behave in a humble way and they don't respond to the disgrace. V'lo lehefech, and also not the opposite. She'shotek kedei linkom b'chavero. That a person is quiet in order to take revenge from their friend, from the person that offended them. Or put them down. Like you cross your arms and say, not saying anything. That you're saying a lot by not saying anything. Ki lifamim shtika shel ha'adam, because sometimes when a person is quiet, hi kedei la'asot yisurim le'shekenegdo, to cause problems for the person that spoke to them. La'arot lo she'eno chashuv kenegdo leklum, to show that person that they're worthless in comparison to this person. Afilu lo la'anot lo al chirpato. And even if a person doesn't respond to the offense, va'az b'shtika kazo la'asot yisurim lekeshenegdo hu gorem shebebchina zo shem klipat noga. So we're going to go back over that. And then by being quiet in this way, they cause the other person to feel hurt. And this is connected to the klipa of noga, which is the klipa that can go in either direction. V'neomezet b'chash, and this is hinted at in the first part of the word chashmal, which is chash, which is shtika, which is being quiet. Nechlal b'klipa is included in the klipa. So what he's saying is that he's trying to define what is klipat noga. What is this neutral intermediary klipa? That's, here we have a situation, somebody comes and says something to you, they really put you down. You can go one way or the other. You can say, no big deal, I'm ignoring it. You can even tell the person, I love you. You might say silly things at times, but no big deal, nishka ferlich, right? Or you take offense and you say, oh yeah, your mother, my mother, and you go back and forth and who knows what. So he says, if you're able to really hold it on that level of a place of love, then you take, so you can take the middle of the book here as klipat noga. One side is choosing to be quiet in a positive way. The other side is either being quiet in an offensive way or trying to hurt the person back. So you can go in either way, and when you choose that, then you get to take advantage of this klipat noga. Haneomezet bechash, which is hinted at being quiet, nechlal beklipa, which is included in the klipa. Avan, kshehu me'ahava, when it comes from love, sha'ashtika, sheshotek, lechavero, hi mechemat ahavat Hashem, that when a person is quiet, they're quiet because of their love of Hashem. So this makes me think of a friend of mine who comes up with the craziest conspiracy theories, says the absolute craziest anti-Zionist stupid stuff. And I used to take him seriously. Now I just, give him a hug. So that's kind of what it is. That I really got to the point where I can't take him seriously anymore. Maybe that is also not such a good thing because I'm already not taking him seriously. Like the person that we were talking about before, I don't take him seriously either. There's a whole list of people that I don't take them seriously. They can stand there and talk in my face all day long, and I won't listen to anything that they have to say. But I don't get upset at them. I don't push back. So I guess that's debatable. We'll have to ask the rabbis in Gan Eden which side I'm actually doing. Ahavat Hashem v'lav Hashem hamitzaveh oto an hashtika, which commands a person to be quiet. Azu b'chinat chash, then it's connected to the chash. Hatov shebiklipat noga, which is the good, quiet side of klipat noga. Hanechledet b'kedusha, which is included in holiness. Ve'az alehem, and then regarding them, those people, ala shotkim, al ha'elbon ve'chiruf mitoch ha'avat Hashem, those that are quiet when it comes to offense or being put down because of their love of Hashem. Akatuv, it's written about them, Omer, and I say, ve'ohavav ketzeit hashemesh bigvurato. And they are beloved to me like the sun when it's out in full force. And I guess the analogy is also really appropriate because somebody's bringing darkness and you're like the sun. And you're not just like the sun when it's coming up in the morning. You're like the sun when it's the middle of the day and it's in its full force. And so Hashem says, when you're able to really do this, you're like the sun in the midday. Hainu she'ohavei Hashem zochim lebchinat hagvura. That is, the beloved of Hashem merit to the aspect of gevura, of stringency, shehi bechinat shalhevet ka, which is connected to a fiery flame for Hashem. So I guess the fire is connected to gevura. But what's the gevura? The stringency? The stringency is coming from a place of a love for Hashem. So there's a type of love that is fire. I guess there's a type of love that is water, or whatever the opposite of it is. But here, the love brings about, like when you take a flint stone and you hit it, and a spark comes out of it, and that spark can light a fire. So that's gvura in a sense. You're hitting it, the spark is coming out, but it does something positive. Kanal is mentioned above. Shazoi b'chinat hagvurot ha'elyonim. This is connected to the supernal gevurot, stringencies. Shan yadam al yadan yechola klipat noga, and through them klipat noga is able to the kalel b'kedusha, to be included in holiness. Meaning, when you make this decision to be quiet from place of love, you connect with the fiery flame of Hashem. And this allows klipat noga to be entered into the side of holiness. Ki ka'asher adam shotek lebizayon velecharafot chavero, because when a person is quiet, when they're being put down or disgraced by their friend, hu zocheh l'shalhavet ka, the person merits to have the fiery flame of Hashem, shehi esh hagvurot, which is the fire of stringencies, she'al yada hu soref et gimel haklipot kashot, that through it burns off the three external klipot, habaot im klipat hanoga, which come with the klipa of noga, v'yechola klipat hanoga likalan b'kedusha, and then the klipa of noga is able to be included in the kedusha. So it's not just that you remove the external klipot, but also the neutral klipa is now included in the holiness. And I guess the opposite. If you don't choose that, then it goes in the opposite direction. Mevaer Reb Nachman zan. So Reb Nachman adds, Perush, meaning, she'al yedei sheshomrim cherpatam ve'inam meshivim, that when a person hears a disgrace and they don't respond, al yedei zo dochim mebchinat ashalosh klipot hanal. That through this, they push aside the three other unholy klipot, as mentioned above, shem b'chinat orla, which is connected to orla, which is the fruit or the foreskin. The b'chinat cherpa, which is connected to cherpa, which is the disgrace, as mentioned above. V'nechalim halalu hashomim cherpatam b'chinat chashman al yedei hashtika שלא משיבים למבזיהם umechafreihem. So then is included those people that hear the disgrace, which is connected to chashmal, and through them being quiet and they don't respond to the disgrace and to the offense, shebechinat chash me'achashmal, which is connected to the chash part, the quiet part of chashmal, v'chein hashotek ba'atzmo nechlal bebchinat mal me'chashmal. So the chash is the part of being quiet, and when a person is quiet, then they themselves become included in the mal side of chashmal, which is removing the outer layers of impurity. Kihu doche ha-cherpa, shehi gimel klipot kashot, because the person pushes away when a person pushes away the disgrace, which are the three outer layers of klipot, kashot, that I guess hard layers, al yedei she'eino rotze lariv ulecharef et chavero, because the person doesn't want to fight with or offend their friend. Lichvod ahavat Hashem haboeret bekirbo, because of their love of Hashem, which is burning within them. V'zeu b'chinat mal. This is connected to the part of mal, of chashmal. B'chinat milah, which is connected to milah, which is circumcision. Shehi bitul ve'chatichat ha'olah, which is the negation and the removal of the orla, which is the negative outer layer. Shehi b'chinat cherpa, which is connected to cherpa, which is disgrace or offense. B'chinat shalosh klipot hatmeot hanal, which are the three outer layers which are impure, as mentioned above. Ukfar nitpe'er, and we already learned, shedavar zeh naaseh al yedei ha'esh shel hevet ka, and this comes about, how do we burn these outer layers? Through the fire that's created from us being quiet, which is the fiery flame of Hashem. So if you think about when you take metal and you heat it up to the point where it's white heat, and you'll see sparks coming out of it, it's so hot, so that anything that touches it, it burns off right away. I worked in a blacksmith shop for a week in a Boy Scout camp a long time ago, and I think I was burned or someone else was burned, I don't remember. When one of the Boy Scouts came to me and said, "Is this hot enough?" and I turned my cheek and went, psst. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was me. It's either me or my friend that I switched with, but I think it was me. And neither of us has a scar. But we saw how this stuff gets really hot. So that's what happened. You create this incredible heat, and it burns off those outer layers. I guess you can think about it. If the person that's speaking to you, they come and they want to say something really offensive to you. I've had stuff like this, like people like to criticize all of my public work, whatever it is. Lessons, podcasts, books, davening, whatever I do, comments on the Times of Israel, whatever it is, people love to tell me how bad I am. So if somebody comes to me and they say, you did this in the davening, you did that in the davening, and I say, you know what, you're right, I didn't think about it, I should pay attention to that. It disarms them all of a sudden. And many times I do really try to pay attention to what people tell me. So here they came ready for like a fight. I'm going to tell you what you did wrong. And I say, maybe you're right. So what did I do in that moment? Even though I've done that and I didn't know this lesson, it was kind of unintentional. I disarmed the person, but I really burned those outer layers of anger that they were bringing. And we were both included now in the Kedusha side of this argument, because the person did have a point, and that's it, end of story. So that comes about through this fiery flame that's created. Haba mekoach ahavat Hashem, that comes from the potential or the power of the love of Hashem. Shehi esh hagvorot, which is the fire of stringency, ubekach usoref umevatel et gimel klipot haraot, and as a result it burns or nullifies the three external klipot. V'zehu chashmal. And this is the meaning of the word chashmal, chash and mal. We're dividing up the 4 letters. Chet and shin, and mem and lamed. Hainu, that is to say, hashtika shehi chash, ose mal b'bchinat brit milah. As I mentioned before, that when a person is quiet, that's connected to the chash, and and then it creates the mal, which is connected to the circumcision. So it removes the outer layer of impurity. B'bchinat bitul hachilpa, which is nullifying the offensive or disgraceful words. Shi b'chinat ola, which is connected to the impure layer on the outside. Ki chotech ota u'mesalka mimenu kanal, because the person cuts it and then throws it off, as mentioned above. V'zeu osim be'ahava, and this is the meaning of those that do this from a place of love. Ki zot hashtika hi b'chinat chashmal. When a person is quiet, it's connected to chashmal. Zeu b'chinat noga hanal. This is connected to klipat noga, which is the neutral klipa, as mentioned above. Sheyesh ba shnei b'chinot, which has 2 aspects. Nifamim nichledet b'kedusha. Sometimes it's included in kedusha, in holiness. V'nifamim nichledet b'klipa, and sometimes it's included in the negative klipa. B'toch hashalosh klipot hanal, in those 3 klipot as mentioned above. Shem b'chinat cherpa kanal, which is connected to disgrace as mentioned above. Hainu ki lifamim ushotek lechavero kedei la'asot lo yisurim biyoter, because sometimes a person is quiet when their friend offends them in order to make the person that offended them more offended. She kavanat shtikato, because the intention of the person being quiet, la'arot lechavero she'eino machshivo leklum v'hu kelev noveach. Okay, so that's your answer for me that ignores the people that say total nonsense. That the intention of being quiet, it's not really there. It's to show your friend that he's not important at all, and it's like a dog that's just barking. Okay, so I don't say that those people are not important at all, but it is like a dog just barking. So I guess the klipat noga of the klipat noga. Nimtza, it follows, shebazot ashtika u'mecharef et chavero biyoter. So then it turns out that you being quiet just annoys your friend even more. Va'az nichlelet ashtika b'bchinat noga, and then the being quiet is included in klipat noga, but b'klipa b'bchinat cherpa kanal, but it's included in the negative side. You being quiet, which at the same time could have brought about this fiery flame of Hashem that burns off all the klipot and that brings peace to the world, and you're like the sun shining in the middle of the day. The same time, the same being quiet, if it's done with the wrong intention, can bring you into those negative klipot. Ki kol shtikato hi ligrom lecheruf, because the whole reason that the person is being quiet is to annoy the other person. Shu gimel klipot hakashot, which are the 3 negative klipot that we talked about before. Nimtza, it follows, sheklal et noga shehi shtika begimel klipot. So, kalal. So then it follows that instead of bringing about this wonderful situation, you dragged the klipa of noga by your silence into the 3 outer impure layers. Avan ksheosim me'ahava. When a person does it from a place of love, hainu sheshotek lecheruf chavero me'ahava, that is, they're quiet from the offense of their friend, but from a place of love, me'ahavat Hashem, from the love of Hashem, mechimat she'eino otze levayesh ulecharef et chavero, because a person doesn't want to embarrass or to cause offense to their friend. Azai b'shtikazo, then through this being quiet, b'bchinat noga nichlelet b'kedusha, which is bringing the klipa of noga into the holiness, ki ashtika shalo hi hefech achiruf, because that person's being quiet is the opposite of causing offense. V'an kain, and therefore alehem katuv omer, and regarding them it's written ve'ohavav, and my beloved, Ohavei Hashem, Ketzeit Hashemesh B'gvura, are like the sun when it's in its full strength. V'zeu b'chinat shenhevet ka hanal, and this is connected to the fiery flame of Hashem as mentioned above. She'al yedei ze nichlal noga b'kedusha, that through this you force the klipa of noga to go into holiness. Kihu soref et gimel klipot kashot, because it burns the 3 outer layers of impure klipot. Ve'einan olot im klipat noga, and they don't go up with the klipa of noga, which is going into the kedusha. Va'azai yechola likalel b'kedusha, and then the klipa of noga is able to be included in holiness. B'pchinat chashmal kanal, that's connected to chashmal as mentioned above. So you understand the idea. I went very, very deep into that. I guess Rebbe Nachman had a lot to say about that particular idea. Maybe there's much deeper levels to it also that we don't know in this book or in our level of learning. But we did learn that a person's intentions matter, the words and even the non-words matter, and that was really his point. And also to bring the idea of the klipot, and that we have the ability to move it from one side to the other. Any questions? No? I know we're a little early, but we'll just finish a little early. It's okay. I don't want to start the next lesson because it's going to be 2 weeks till we get around to it, and we won't remember it anyhow. Okay, so a story about the seer of Lublin. So one day he's riding with his driver, and they get to a fork in the road, and they didn't know where they were supposed to go. A lot of these tzaddikim, they just went wherever Hashem took them. The Baal Shem Tov was famous for that. He would just let the horses go, and they take him wherever. So the driver says to the seer Lublin, who you know the seer Lublin, right? He's one of the great Rebbe tzaddikim, called the seer because he had holy vision, and he was he a student of the Maggid? I'm pretty sure he was a student of the Maggid. There were all these great Rebbes that came out of the Maggid. There's like the Baal Shem Tov, the Maggid, and then everyone. The Alter Rebbe, Reb Zushe, Rebbe Melech, all of the Reb Levi Yitzchak Berdichev, all of them were connected to the Maggid. All of them are students of the Maggid. So if the seer wasn't, then he was a student of one of the students of the Maggid. And so he tells the horses, go on their way. Finally seem to be coughing less. Still not coughing less enough. I got some really serious virus. It's been like 5 weeks since I got over that, and I'm still coughing from it. I don't know what it was. Doesn't really matter. So the driver says, which way? He says, let the horses go, and that will figure it out. So the horses go, and they get to this little town, and there's like hardly anything Jewish there at all. They do see a little shul there. They see a little Jewish neighborhood. So the seer Lublin says to his driver, we're going to stay here for Shabbos because it's already getting late. It's on Thursday night or Friday morning. And he told his Hasidim, so he had some of his Hasidim with him, don't tell anybody here that I'm a Rebbe or the seer Lublin. I don't want anyone to know. Now, the seer Lublin would give away all of his money at the end of the day. So he never had any money on him, and the Hasidim didn't have any money on them. So they said, how are we going to survive? How are we going to make it for Shabbos? He said, we're going to, look, if everybody knew that you were the seer Lublin, they'd fall over themselves to host us. But if nobody knows, he said, we're going to be like everyone else. We're going to go to the shul, we're going to sleep on the floor, and after davening, people will invite us to come to meals, or they won't. So they went to shul, and after davening, one by one, all of the Hasidim found a place to eat, but the seer Lublin, of course, doesn't finish davening like everybody else. He's going longer and longer and longer, and after finally a few hours, he finishes, and he sees an old man sitting in the back of the shul. And the old man says to him, you have a place to eat? And he said, no. He said, well, you can come to me and my wife, but we're very poor. We just have bread and water. He said, that's okay with me. I'm not a snob. Bread and water works just fine for me. So the old man takes him to his house, and they start having the meal. And he says to him, so where are you from? He said, I'm from Lublin. said, wow, you're from Lublin. So let me tell you a story. I used to teach in Cheder. I used to teach little kids. And one of my students was the Seer of Lublin. And I heard he's like this huge tzaddik now and a big Rebbe. And it's my dream to visit the Seer of Lublin. But I can't go there. I'm already too old and I don't have the money to make it. But you must know the Seer of Lublin. Have you ever met him? So he said, he's always with me. He said, wow, so you must be one of his Hasidim. He said, I'm very close to him. He said, tell me, is there anything special you can tell him? Tell me about him. So the Seer Lublin says, what do you want to know about him? He said, well, when I was a teacher in the Cheder, I didn't see anything exceptional about him. He seemed like a normal student, like everybody else. But now I hear he's a great tzaddik. So now the Seer Lublin turns it on him and said, really, what did you not see anything exceptional about him? He said, well, actually, every time that we did davening in the class, he would disappear. And when he would show back up, when he'd come back into the classroom, I would hit him with the stick. I'd get upset at him and punish him. He said, but one time I decided to follow him when he left. And I followed him into the woods, and I saw him sit by a beehive and get stung by bees while he was davening and focused so much on being connected to Hashem that he didn't even feel the bees stinging him. He said, in the moment that I saw that, I knew he was special, and I stopped beating him. So the Seer Lublin, of course, was very moved. And he said, apparently, Hashem wanted me to come here because we asked the horses to go wherever they wanted to go. And they took us to this town and to this shul, and I am the Seer of Lublin. And the old man was so shocked, he fell off his chair and fainted. And when he came to, he said, tell me more, tell me stories, tell me everything. And they spent the rest of Shabbos and Motzei Shabbos talking, and the old man got his visit with the Seer Lublin. And then he tells the Hasidim on Sunday morning, come, we're going on our way. And they got to the first town outside of that town, and he said, we have to go back because my teacher has passed away. And it's time for us to attend his levaya. And they came back and attended the burial of the teacher. Now, you could look at this and you could say, wow, what a terrible story. What a good Russian story. What a bad American story. But really, if you think about it, the teacher's dream was to meet the Seer Lublin. And so Hashem made sure that before he left this world, like seconds before he left this world, the Seer Lublin got to spend Shabbos with him. And of course, be there at the levaya, and that was the real chesed. So Be'ezrat Hashem, I guess in a sense this is connected to Shalhevet Ka, which is the fiery flame of Hashem, which is the flame of love from Hashem that comes about from Gvura, from stringency. It's kind of a Gvuradic story, but coming from a place of love. Okay, so we'll continue next time, 2 weeks from now, Be'ezrat Hashem, and we'll sing a little in there.